Digital and online payments are the new normal for shoppers in Europe. But another method of payment is being considered the digital euro. Do we really need it? How much will it cost? And what's the point? It is already raising these questions among lawmakers and bankers. That is under the lens on eu-decoded this week.
Between 2019 and 2022, cash fell from 72% to 59% as a total share of payments. By contrast, total electronic money transactions leapt from 4.6 billion to 8.4 billion. The European Central Bank's planned digital euro would be available on a rechargeable card, a digital wallet or a mobile app.
A digital euro account could be set up at a bank, a post office or an online platform. But would people really use it?
J'utilise le paiement digital parce que c'est plus facile, j'ai pas besoin de me balader avec du cash. C'est sur mon téléphone, c'est plus pratique, plus facile, plus rapide.
Sinto que o governo tem que saber onde é que eu ando a gastar o meu dinheiro e se for cash, posso gastar onde eu quero. Já ouvi falar de moedas digitais, euro digital em específico para o continente europeu ou para a União Europeia, não.
A parte do digital, neste momento, como lhe digo, já passei por situações de fraude e de cartões suspensos e tentativas de hackear a própria conta que confesso que me deixa um bocadinho constrangida, um bocadinho não muito segura em relação a isso, mas é possível.
Yeah, it could easily handle more transaction over the borders and when you cooperate with in different companies in different lands, so yes.
Are you worried about your security when you do digital payments?
Sometimes, but I usually trust the banks. So if the banks are involved, yes.
Paula, how is the digital euro different from a cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin and others?
So, unlike cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin or Ethereum, this version would be risk-free. What does this mean? Well, basically, when we have a digital euro or a central bank digital currency, it is subject to a banking regulation. So if you have a problem, you can go to the central bank or you can go to your traditional bank and get some help or support.
Does it mean that the digital euro is not a currency for investments? People will not make money on it like interest in the banks. It's just something for their daily lives?
Yes. The initial idea of this project of the digital euro is basically that it serves as an alternative means of payment. So it wants to be as close to cash as possible, meaning that it is free for users, it is accessible, and that it ensures that citizens are protected. And that we have financial stability.
So the private banking system is largely against this proposal. Why?
Well, it's basically that European banks are a bit concerned or skeptical about the added value of this proposal. This is mainly because we don't know yet the overall cost of this project. We don't know exactly which infrastructure we're going to use for this project. And it is also because they fear that they could lose some bank deposits. The ECB already said that they are trying to ensure that this is just an alternative means of payment and it is not meant to be a savings vehicle for large amounts of money.
So they would cap with a limit, for instance, so that the banks would not feel too much of the impact?
Exactly. They don't know the figures yet, but they are planning to have these holding limits that they are currently discussing in the ECB as they are in the preparatory phase. The proposal is currently a bit stalled at the European Parliament because it was supposed to be voted in April, but that never happened, and they just had a briefing or, well, a hearing with the ECB representatives in September.
Let's look at the pros and cons. Inclusion is seen as a pro, as people with no private bank account or access to internet could use it. Privacy is a thorny issue, but the ECB claims it would not be able to identify payment habits. Fraud and money laundering could be harder to detect if untraceable. If too successful, banks might lose deposits and no longer be able to lend.
With us at the European Parliament is Damian Boeselager, the Vice Chair of the Committee for Economic and Monetary Affairs. Many people are skeptical about the idea of a digital euro. Do you think it's worth doing?
I find it super exciting. It is a great innovation to think about. More and more people are using digital means of payment for any sorts of things, and we're currently very reliant on, for example, Apple Pay and so on, which uses credit card payment providers to be able to pay.
Does the EU need to reduce its dependency on Visa, MasterCard, for example?
You can always use your credit card. It's completely fine. Nobody's going to take that away from you. But I think it should be possible to have something similar to handing over a cash note to also do that on the digital level. And the digital wallet together with the digital euro would allow for that without any form of transaction going outside to a private sector entity, but just basically via public sector entities. And I think both is fine. You should just be able to choose.
And what privacy controls is the European Parliament trying to secure for the digital euro?
It's obviously extremely important that if you have agglomerated a lot of data about a lot of transactions and about a lot of individuals, you need to make sure that there is anonymization, that there is a way to make sure that this cannot be breached with cybersecurity issues. Maybe when the transactions are of a lower value, can be anonymous, and then only if it's larger transactions should be somehow maybe followable also to ensure anti-money laundering mechanisms still work. But I think there's a lot of layers that we can put in.
The United Kingdom and China are moving in this area. Are you worried the European Union would be left behind?
And here's one moment where we are actually leading, where we can be leading if we come forward with a good proposal. But we shouldn't dissect it now with lobby interests from all dimensions. We should really think about what makes sense and what is the added benefit, as you said, for the retail industry and for the individual customers.
Just to add, because some people say digital euro would be more about the sovereignty, the financial sovereignty of the EU. Is this also a value that you think it's important to safeguard?
I think it could have a big advantage for us as well. Also because we wouldn't be relying on third country payment providers or even European payment providers, but we could also rely on a public institution, in this case the central bank, to be able to do our payments. That gives you some sovereignty, also some independence. I think it's important, not just from third countries, but in general from failing banks, and I hope that this will work.
The digital euro may boost Europe's financial sovereignty, but at what cost? Anyway, it won't be coming anytime soon, if it happens at all. Any legislation to be agreed in Brussels and with the member states would take 2 to 3 years. Thank you for watching. I'll be coming with more eu-decoding next week.